Hey friends, I just got back from a wonderful breakfast with some second half of life friends of mine, and we were talking about energy level and how do we respect our energy level in second half of life, which is definitely changing. So why don't we continue the conversation? My name is Jeanette Slater, and this is the Further Journey YouTube channel. Welcome. We talk about all kinds of things that are shifting and changing in second half of life. Today, we're going to talk about energy. Let's get started. I think one of the things we all notice in second half of life is that our energy just isn't what it was in first half of life. And that's pretty natural, but sometimes it can be frustrating. Like we want to do something and we just find we don't have the same kind of energy. And it's a little bit frustrating that we can't do what we did in first half of life. But I think it's really important that we respect our energy level. I find that there's two aspects to our energy level, at least two. There's probably more, and we'll talk about those another time. But I find that endurance and strength are different. So strength is what you can do maybe once or twice, like lifting something heavy. As the country music song says, I'm as good once as I ever was. And we can do it once, but maybe in first half of life, we could repeat doing it. But in second half of life, it's a little bit harder. And we have to respect our repeatability, if you will, of doing something. The other aspect is endurance. So we go out and maybe we're doing light work and we just find we're exhausted by the end of that. And in first half of life, we could have easily done it and then gone on to do more. So how do we respect those two aspects of our energy in second half of life? One of the ways this shows up for me is how many things I can squeeze into a day. In first half of life, I could hold down a full-time job, come back in the evening or late afternoon, cook dinner, get ready for a night out, whatever it was, until 10 o'clock at night, come back, rest, be up the next morning for work. And I find that different now. Now, when I look at my schedule, I look more at how many big things do I have scheduled in the day. So if I have one big thing in the morning and one big thing in the afternoon, that's what my day holds. Maybe I'll have this energy to do something in the evening if it's not too late. So I don't want to be out till 9 and 10 o'clock at night because my energy just gives out. And I need to respect that. I also look at my whole week and how many big events I have in my whole week, because that can also tax my energy if there's too many of those big events. I'm more of an introvert, and so especially if there's social events, I need to monitor my social energy as well as my physical energy. And if I have too many social events going on day after day after day, I find myself emotionally exhausted because, as I say, I've used up my people energy. Another way that I find my energy being exhausted is if I'm trying to do too much multitasking. If I can focus on one thing and do that one thing well, and then move on to the next, I find I have more energy for doing those kind of things in succession rather than just trying to do it all at one time. This is also a more mindful way of living life, and it de-stresses. It helps our body to de-stress while we're doing things. When we're trying to multitask, it can become a little frenetic, a little frantic, and then our anxiety, our stress starts to go up. and that will suck out our energy as well as affect our health. We were talking this morning about how if we look at a task that needs to be done, breaking it up into smaller tasks and focusing on one of those tasks really helps. It's springtime here in northern Indiana, and if you live in a standalone home, you probably have a lot of yard work to do. And it can feel overwhelming to think about all the things that need to be done, the trimming that needs to happen, and then cleaning up after the trimming. All the detritus that is left over from the winter that has piled up in the flower beds and cleaning that all out. If you have a garden, plowing up the garden, or mine is only a 4x4 square, 2 of those. So getting the shovel out and turning over the garden, these are all huge tasks that take a lot of energy. And so what I need to do, and as we were talking this morning, we need to say, okay, I have an hour. What can I do in an hour? In an hour, I'm going to stop and decide if I have the energy to keep going. And if not, it's okay to stop. Another way to do it is to specifically take one task. So if I want to go out and turn over my garden, I'll do that, just that. I won't string a whole bunch of outside tasks in a row without some rest. Alternating rest with activity throughout the day really helps me to keep going. If I push myself too hard all at one time, then the rest of the day, all I want to do is sit. Now, about rest. So recently I was listening to a Dr. Lieberman. He's an evolutionary biologist that is a professor at Harvard, and he has been studying how humans have evolved over thousands and thousands of years. And his take on rest is that our bodies are actually programmed, evolved to need rest and want rest. Our ancestors had very active lives. And so when they went to rest, it was a well-earned rest, and the body needed that. So he says, don't feel like you're just being lazy. Your body is actually programmed to need that rest. Now, the challenge in second half of life is that we do have more time to rest, which is great, but it can also be a little bit addictive. At least I find it that way. It's like, ooh, settling down on the couch just sounds really nice, and an hour or two goes by. So even respecting our energy, respecting our rest time, but also not allowing those to become too much of a part of our day, if you will. Dr. Lieberman also says that our ancestors were busy all day with chopping wood and starting fires and cooking over a fire and going out for hunting and doing the garden work, and if they had a garden, or foraging. So they were constantly on the move. And if we think that sitting on the couch and then just going to the gym for an hour is the same thing, it's not. So our bodies are programmed to be useful. And that's why humans live longer than, say, the great apes, because we've found a way to be useful longer in our life. So that's an encouragement to keep moving, to not just settle on the couch, but also to respect the rest that we need in our lives. So that's a lot about endurance, but strength is also something we have to respect. Because I was single until I was 50, I was used to doing everything myself, and I could do it. and I was going to take one load of groceries into the house, none of this going back and forth. I could do it all in one load. These kind of things in second half of life, I need to rethink and say, might it be better to take a little bit longer and make multiple trips? Or if we're carrying water to the garden or to some of the plants that we have outside, do we have to take a full bucket of water? What about if we took a half bucket of water and took more trips? Again, we'll get more exercise and we won't strain our back and our muscles in the same way. So we have to respect our strength in the middle of our endurance. So how about you? How are you experiencing a shift in your strength and a shift perhaps in your endurance? And how are you respecting that, acknowledging that, and not just saying, oh, well, I was having a bad day, or I know I can do this. Yeah, maybe you can, but don't hurt yourself in the process. What are the things that you're finding you're needing to maybe parse out, take a little more time, take a little less load, so that you don't harm your body and you really respect the strength and endurance that you have in second half of life? I'd love to hear from you, but don't take off your walking shoes because we've got to keep walking on this journey. So I'll see you in the next video.